Therāpadāna. The Legends of the Theras. Yasa chapter the 56th. 551. Yasa. Floating in the great ocean. My palace then was very well made. There was a pond also well made, full of the cries of ruddy geese, covered with mandalaka blooms, and with pink and blue lotuses. And a river was flowing there, beautiful with excellent banks, covered with fish and tortoises, with various birds spread about, noisy with peacocks and herons, and the calls of birds like cuckoos, pigeons and ravi swans as well, ruddy geese and nadi-Kassapas, lapwings and myna birds are here,
small monkeys, Yivakas.
It resounds with swans and herons, owls and many pigalas. The sand contains the 7 gems, strewn with jewels and costly pearls. All of the trees, made out of gold, pervaded by various scents, are lighting up my palace there, by day and night all of the time. 60,000 instruments are being played morning and evening. 16,000 women as well are waiting on me constantly, happy with pleasure in my heart. Having departed my palace, I worshipped that greatly famed one, Sumedha, leader of the world. Having greeted the Sambuddha, inviting him an assembly, that wise one then agreed to come, Sumedha, leader of the world. Having preached the Dhamma to me, the great sage later took his leave. Having greeted the Sambuddha, I returned to my palace then. I summoned all the people there. All of you gather together. In the first part of the day, the Buddha will come to the palace. We dwelling near you have received something that's well gotten for us. We too will do a puja for the teacher, the best of Buddhas. After putting up food and drink, I announced that it was the time. The leader of the world arrived. With 100,000 masters, I went to meet him with the 5 musical instruments sounding. The Supreme Person sat down on a chair made out of solid gold. I placed a canopy above, which was made out of solid gold. Fans are then diffusing perfumes. Within the assembly of monks, I regaled the monks' assembly with large amounts of food and drink. I gave individual pairs of cloth to the monks' assembly. The one whom they called Sumedha, sacrificial recipient, sitting in the monks' assembly, spoke these 6 verses at that time. This one who gave me food and drink, and fed all of these monks with it, I shall relate details of him. All of you listen to my words. For 1800 eons he will delight in the world of gods. 1,000 times he'll be a king who turns the wheel of law. In whichever womb he's reborn, whether it's human or divine, a canopy of solid gold will always be carried for him. In 30,000 eons hence, arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama will be the teacher in the world, worthy heir to that one's Dhamma, Dhamma's legitimate offspring, knowing well all the defilements, he'll reach nirvana, undefiled. Sitting in the monks' assembly, he will then roar the lion's roar. On his pyre an umbrella's born. Beneath it he is cremated. Monkhood has been attained by me. My defilements are now burnt up. In a pavilion or tree root, burning heat is not known by me. In the 30,000 eons, since I gave that gift at that time, I've come to know no bad rebirth, the fruit of giving everything. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Yasa spoke these verses. The legend of Yasa the first. 552. Nadi-Kassapa. When Pajamutara Buddha, the world's best one, the neutral one, was wandering about for alms, maintaining superlative fame, taking the best fruit of some sort, I gave it to him, the teacher, the biped lord, the world's best one, bull of men. Due to that karma, I've attained the unshaking state, beyond all conquest and defeat. In the 100,000 eons, since I gave that donation then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of giving the best. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the four analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Nadi-Kassapa Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Nadi-Kassapa Thera the second. (553) Gayā-Kassapa. I was dressed in deer leather then, wearing a heavy shoulder yoke. Carrying a curry load, I brought jujubes to the ashram. The Blessed One in that era was alone with nobody else. He then approached my hermitage, shining brightly all of the time, bringing pleasure to my own heart, worshipping the compliant one, taking them with both of my hands. I gave the Buddha jujubes. In the 31 eons since, I gave that fruit to him back then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. The fruit of giving jujubes. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Gayā-Kassapa Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Gayā-Kassapa Thera the third. (554) Kimbila. When Kakasanda passed away, the Brahmin, the perfected one, gathering salala flowers, I constructed a pavilion. Having gone to Tvatisa, I received a supreme mansion. I surpassed all the other gods. That is the fruit of good karma. Whether it's the day or the night, walking back and forth or standing, I'm covered with salala blooms. That is the fruit of good karma. Within just this present aeon, since I thus worshipped the Buddha, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of Buddha puja. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Kimbila Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Kimbila Thera the fourth. (555) Vajjiputta. The Blessed One, 1,000-rayed one, the self-become unconquered one, rising up from his solitude, went forth in order to seek food. Holding fruit in my hand, I saw the bull of men who had approached. Happy, with pleasure in my heart, I gave him fruit with stems attached. In the 94 eons since, I gave him that fruit at that time. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That is the fruit of giving fruit. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Vajjiputta Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Vajjiputta Thera the fifth. (556) Uttara. The Sambuddha named Sumedha, bearing the 32 great marks, seclusion lover, blessed one, came up to the Himalayas. Plunged into the Himalayas, the chief, compassionate, the sage, getting into lotus posture, sat down, the ultimate person. I was a sorcerer back then, one who could travel through the sky, taking my well-gone trident eye, was going through the sky right there, like fire burning on a mountain, like the moon on the 15th day. The Buddha blazed forth in the woods, like a regal sal tree in bloom, coming down from atop the woods. The Buddha's rays filled all of space with the color of a reed fire. Seeing that, I pleased my own heart. Wandering, I saw a flower, a dinner plate with divine scent. Carrying 3 of those flowers, I offered them to the Buddha. Through Buddha's majestic power, just then those 3 flowers of mine, stems turned upward, petals downward, they're making shade for the teacher. Due to that karma done very well, with intention and firm resolve, discarding my human body, I went to Tvatisa then. There my well-constructed mansion was known by the name Dinner Plate. It measured 60 leagues in length, and it was 30 leagues in width. 100,000 pinnacles, a mil-ka-cent bew large, made of gold, covered in flags, appeared for me on that mansion. Palanquins made out of crystal, made of gold or made of gemstones, and also made out of rubies, go where I wish if I should wish. And there was an expensive bed, which had an assembled mattress, with a wool blanket on one end, and furnished with lots of pillows. Going out from the palace, I'm wandering in divine travels, going according to my wish, honored by the gods' assembly. I stand on flowers underneath. A canopy is above me. 100 leagues on every side, is covered with dinner plate trees. There are 60,000 instruments, wait on me evening and morning. They're attending me constantly. By night and day they're not lazy. I delight in play and pleasures. Desiring desires I rejoice. Due to the dances and singing, the percussion and speeches there. Eating and drinking there I'm then. Rejoicing among the 30, together with troops of women. I rejoice in my great mansion. And 500 different times, I exercised divine rule there. And 300 different times, I was a king who turns the wheel. And I enjoyed much local rule, innumerable by counting, transmigrating from birth to birth. I receive many possessions. I have no lack of possessions. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. I transmigrate in just 2 states, that of a god or of a man. I know no other rebirth state. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. I am born in the 2 high clans, Kshatriyan and also Brahmin. I'm not aware of lesser clans. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. Elephant and horse vehicles, palanquins and chariots too. I am receiving all of that. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. Troops of slaves and troops of slave girls, and women who are all decked out. I am receiving all of that. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. Silk material, woolen stuff, coma cloth and cotton goods too. I am receiving all of that. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. New clothing and fruit which is fresh, pure food of foremost tastiness. I am receiving all of that. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. People saying, eat this, enjoy this, please lie down on this fine bed. I am receiving all of that. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. Everywhere I'm given honor, and I have very lofty fame. Always in the majority, my retinue has no factions. I'm not aware of cold nor heat, and burning fever is not known. Likewise, there is not found in me suffering of the mind or heart. Having been the color of gold, I transmigrate from birth to birth. I do not know a bad color. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. Falling down from the world of gods, incited by my wholesome roots, I am reborn in Sravasti, in a wealthy clan with big halls. Giving up the 5 sense pleasures, I went forth into homelessness. Being only 7 years old, I attained my arahantship. Knowing my virtue, the Buddha, the Eyeful One, then ordained me, a young boy worthy of honor. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. The divine eye is purified. I'm skilled in meditative states. Special knowledges perfected. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. Analytical modes attained. Skilled in all the superpowers. perfect in special knowledges. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. In the 30,000 eons, since I worshipped the Buddha then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the four analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Uttarathera spoke these verses. The legend of Uttarathera the sixth. (557) Apara Uttara. When the world's Lord reached Nirvana, Siddhartha, leader of the world, having summoned my relatives, I worshipped that Buddha's relics. In the 94 eons since, I worshipped those relics back then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of relic worship. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the four analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Apara Uttarathera spoke these verses. The legend of Apara Uttarathera the seventh. (558) Bhaddaji, having plunged into a pond, served by various elephants, and pulling up lotus root there because they're what I'm eating then. The Buddha in that period bore the name Pajamuttara. Wearing cloth dyed red, the Buddha is traveling through the sky there, shaking his robes made out of rags. Then I heard the sound of his robes, and looking upward at the sky, I saw the leader of the world. Remaining in that very place, I invited the world leader. Honey is flowing from the roots, and milk and oil flow from the stems. Let the Buddha, the Eyeful One, with pity accept some from me. Then the teacher, compassionate, the greatly famed one, descended. The Eyeful One, with pity then, accepted that alms food of mine. Accepting it, the Sambuddha expressed his thanks to me like this: Be happy, O merit-filled one. Let your rebirth be accomplished. Due to this gift of lotus root, may you receive huge happiness. Having said that, the Sambuddha, the one whose name was Best Lotus, the Sambuddha taking that food, the victor flew off through the sky. Having taken more lotus root, I came back to my hermitage. Hanging that root up in a tree, I remembered my offering. A massive windstorm then arose. It agitated the forest. The space was filled up with the noise of thunderbolts bursting forth there. Then lightning falling from the sky struck me right on top of my head. Because of that, sitting down, I passed away right on the spot. Then bound up with my good karma, I was reborn in Tusita. When my human body fell down, I delighted in the God's world. 86,000 women then, decked out in fine clothes and jewelry, wait on me evening and morning. The fruit of giving lotus root. Having come to a human womb, I am then happy all the time. I have no lack of possessions. The fruit of giving lotus root. Having then been pitted by him, the God of gods, the neutral one, all defilements are exhausted. Now there will be no more rebirth. In the 100,000 eons, since I gave that alms food back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. The fruit of giving lotus root. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The three knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the four analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Bhaddaji Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Bhaddaji Thera, the 8th. (559) Sivaka, when Vipassi, the sage so great, was going about as he wished, seeing that his bowl was empty, I filled it with barley porridge. In the 91 eons since, I gave that alms food at that time. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of barley porridge. My defilements are now burnt up. All new existence is destroyed. Like elephants with broken chains, I am living without constraint. Being in best Buddha's presence was a very good thing for me. The 3 knowledges are attained. I have done what the Buddha taught, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Sivakathera spoke these verses. The legend of Sivakathera, the 9th. The summary of that, Yasa and Nadi-Kassapa, Gayā, Kimbila, Vajjiputta, 2 Uttaras and Bhaddaji, and Sivaka the final one. The Yasa chapter, the 56th. The Therāpadāna is finished. 562. The deeds of Elder Upavānatheraapadāna. A victor named Pajamudara, one who has reached the far shore of all phenomena, blazed like a burning ember and became a fully awakened one, attaining perfect nirvana. Many people gathered to honor the Tathagata. They built a pyre of fragrant wood and placed the body of this supreme being upon it. After performing the necessary rites for the body, they collected the relics. Gods and humans alike built a stupa in honor of the awakened one. The first tier was made of gold. The second tier was made of jewels. The third tier was made of silver, and the fourth tier was made of crystal. Moreover, the fifth tier was made of ruby. The sixth tier was made of agate, and the uppermost part was entirely made of precious gems. The base was made of jewels, and the railings were crafted from gemstones. The towering stupa rose to the height of a yojana and was entirely made of gold. At that time, the gods gathered and conferred, "We too shall build a stupa, for the sake of the Lord of the world. There are no physical relics left, nor any remains of the body. We shall create an outer covering over the stupa of the awakened one." The gods adorned the stupa with 7 kinds of precious stones, adding another yojana to its height. The stupa now stood 2 yojanas tall, dispelling the darkness. Then the Nagas gathered and discussed among themselves, "Indeed, humans and gods have built a stupa for the awakened one. We must not remain negligent. Together with the gods, we shall act diligently and also build a stupa for the sake of the Lord of the world." They gathered Indranila, sapphires, great sapphires, sparkling gems, and jewels, covering the stupa of the awakened one. Thus, the stupa of the awakened one came to be entirely adorned with jewels. It now stood 3 yojanas tall, radiating light. Then, the Gyaruas gathered and conferred, "Humans, gods, and Nagas have built a stupa for the awakened one. We must not remain negligent. Together with the gods, we shall act diligently and also build a stupa for the sake of the Lord of the world." They created an outer layer for the jewel-adorned stupa, increasing its height by another yojana. Now standing 4 yojanas tall, the stupa of the awakened one shone brilliantly like 100 rising suns, illuminating every direction. Then, the Asuras gathered and discussed, "Indeed, humans, gods, Nagas, Gyaruas, and others, each has built the finest stupa for the supreme awakened one. We must not remain negligent. Together with the gods, we shall act diligently and also build a stupa for the sake of the Lord of the world. We shall expand the stupa and cover it with precious stones." They expanded the stupa of the awakened one, adding another yojana to its height. Now standing 5 yojanas tall, the stupa glowed radiantly. Then, the yakas gathered and discussed, "Humans, gods, Nagas, Gyaruas, Asuras, each has built the finest stupa for the supreme awakened one. We must not remain negligent. Together with the gods, we shall act diligently and also build a stupa for the sake of the Lord of the world. We shall expand the stupa and cover it with crystals." They expanded the stupa of the awakened one, adding another yojana to its height. Now standing 6 yojanas tall, the stupa shone brightly. Then, The Gandharvas gathered and discussed. Humans, gods, Nagas, Asuras, and Garuas. All have built a stupa for the awakened one. Here we have yet to contribute. We too shall build a stupa for the sake of the Lord of the world. They constructed 7 railings and made flags and umbrellas. The Gandharvas then built a stupa entirely of gold. Now standing 7 yojanas tall, the stupa radiated brilliance. Day and night were indistinguishable, and its light shone eternally. The light of the moon, sun, and stars could not overshadow the stupa's radiance. For 100 yojanas, even lamps did not shine as brightly. At that time, humans, whoever they were, made offerings to the stupa. They did not ascend it, but instead threw their offerings into the air. A Yaka named Abhisamita, stationed by the gods, caught the flying flags or garlands and placed them atop the stupa. Though unseen, the Yaka's actions were witnessed through the floating garlands. Those who saw these divine miracles attained favorable rebirths. Even those who harbored ill will toward the sacred teachings, or those who held faith in the Dharma, sought to witness the miracles and offered gifts to the stupa. In the city of Hasavat, I was then a hired laborer. Seeing the joyous crowds, I reflected deeply. Truly, this is the most excellent blessed one. His relic shrine is magnificent, and these people are content, free from suffering. I too shall act, for the sake of the Lord of the world. In the future, I shall become an heir to his Dharma. I took my upper garment, beautifully washed by the launderer, tied it to the tip of a bamboo pole, and cast it into the air as a flag. Abhisamita, the Yaka, caught my flag and carried it aloft. Seeing the flag fluttering in the wind, I smiled even more. With a heart full of faith, I approached a monk. After venerating him, I asked about the merit of offering the flag. He rejoiced and spoke words that brought me delight. You will receive the merit of this flag at all times. Elephants, horses, chariots, infantry, and the fourfold army will always surround you. This is the fruit of offering the flag. 60,000 musical instruments and 12-fold decorated drums will always surround you. This is the fruit of offering the flag. 86,000 women, adorned in colorful garments and jewelry, wearing pearl earrings, those with thick lashes, bright eyes, and graceful forms, will always surround you. This is the fruit of offering the flag. For 30,000 kalpas, you will rejoice in heavenly realms. 80 times you will reign as Indra, king of the gods, and 1,000 times you will become a universal monarch, ruling vast territories beyond measure. 100,000 kalpas hence, in the lineage of Okaka, a teacher named Gautama will arise in the world. Descending from the heavenly realms, urged by good roots, you will be born in the retinue of Brahma. Renouncing 80 kois of wealth, along with many slaves and workers, you will ordain in the Dharma of the Blessed One Gautama. Delighting the Buddha Gautama, the bull of the Sakyas, you will be known as Upavānatherāpadāna, a disciple of the teacher. 100,000 kalpas ago, I performed this deed and reaped its fruits. The monk revealed this to me. Like a well-aimed arrow, I burned away all defilements. As a universal monarch, ruler of the 4 continents, I reigned supreme. Flags were raised everywhere across 3 yojanas. Indeed, since performing this deed, for 100,000 kalpas, I have not fallen into unfortunate realms. This is the fruit of offering the flag. My defilements are burned away. Free from afflictions, I dwell in the world. For me, truly, this was a blessed encounter. The teaching of the awakened one was fulfilled. The 4 divine powers were realized. The teaching of the awakened one was fulfilled. Thus, the Venerable Upavānatherāpadāna spoke these verses. This concludes the 10th account of the deeds of Elder Upavānatherāpadāna. 563. The deeds of Elder Ratthapāla. For the sake of the Blessed One Pajamuttara, the most exalted one and Tathagata, I offered a great elephant with tusks like shafts, truly a magnificent elephant. It was adorned with a beautiful white canopy and accompanied by an ornate saddle and an elephant keeper. After assessing its value, I donated it to create a forest monastery for the Sangha. I built 54,000 lofty mansions and made a great offering, equivalent to the rushing currents of a river, presenting it to the great sage. The great hero, self-achieved and supreme among men, rejoiced and proclaimed the deathless state while delighting all beings with his smile. The awakened one, whose name signifies the finest lotus that grows in water, explained the fruit of this offering to me. Sitting amidst the community of monks, he spoke these verses. This person has built 54,000 lofty mansions. Let me now declare the reward of such deeds. Listen carefully to my words. You will possess 18,000 palaces, all manifesting as the most excellent abodes, entirely made of gold. 50 times you shall reign as Indra, king of the gods, wielding celestial sovereignty. And 58 times you shall become a universal monarch. 100,000 kalpas hence, arising from the lineage of Okaka, a teacher named Gautama will appear in the world. Descending from the heavenly realms, urged by good roots, you will immediately be reborn into the family of a great and wealthy householder. Later, you will renounce worldly life, urged by your virtuous roots, and be known as Ratthapāla, a disciple of the teacher. Through diligent effort, you will attain tranquility, becoming an independent one, fully understanding and eradicating all defilements, free from afflictions and reaching nirvana. Stirred by resolve, I left home, abandoning the wealth I had attained. For me, attachment to riches is like spittle. Diligence is the ox cart that carries me to peace, freeing me from bondage. In the teaching of the perfectly enlightened one, I maintain my final existence. My mental defilements are burned away, abbreviated, free from afflictions, I dwell in the world. Truly, for me, this was a blessed encounter. Abbreviated, the teaching of the awakened one has been fulfilled. The 4 divine powers have been realized. Abbreviated, the teaching of the awakened one has been fulfilled. Thus, the Venerable Ratthapāla spoke these verses. This concludes the 11th account of the deeds of Elder Ratthapāla. The chapter on Yasa becomes the 56th. This is the summary verse for that chapter. Yasa and Nadi-Kassapa, Gayā, Kimbila, and Vajjina, the 2 Utharas, Bhaddaji, Sivaka, Upavānatherāpadāna, and Ratthapāla. There are 100 verses and 95 verses. The Therāpadāna scripture has now reached its conclusion. Thus, the accounts of the deeds of the awakened ones, the Paksika Buddhas, and the elders have all been completed.